Hey, LaShonda. Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Kearney, responding to your discussion board post number two in regard to the Kelly McGonigal research YouTube video. First, I want to credit and say right out the bat that I really gratefully appreciate that you took the time to actually look up at least one of the original studies that was communicated in her TED talk. There were actually three studies that she brought up, and I wasn't clear on the assignment, but I do believe he did want us to speak on all three. However, I do appreciate what you did with the one that you researched and how you laid it out. Specifically, I agree with you that the sample size for the Keller Litzelman and Wisk study was the strength, and it could only predict a causal, or could not predict a causal relationship because it was cross sectional, which is exactly what you laid out in your response post. The other two studies that were actually mentioned was a Jamison study et al. From 2012 and a Poland, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, et al. 2013. You'd have to pause the video to catch them, but they put them up on the screen as well. And all the articles could be found in our library. But basically, the other two studies, the Jamison study, I believe, was the first. No, the Keller was the first one mentioned. The Jamison was the second, and that was an actual true experimental design. Except, of course, it's hard to um, specify how the results would translate externally because things don't happen in a vacuum or research lab. Life doesn't happen that way. So one of the limitations that I pointed out, in addition to that, was I don't know if the researchers has correctly assessed how much or a baseline. I would believe so because there's a control group, but I don't know if the baseline considered how people thought about stress in advance to the experiment. So that was one of the things I wanted Professor Hoover to go over to kind of really explain what was going on in that experimental study because McGonagall did not do a good job of really telling the details. And then finally, the Poland study had a really large sample size as well, but they looked at old data. It wasn't from their own research, but some information that they pulled. And I think, unlike the Keller study, I think they did take periodical assessments of the individuals who were involved in the study, except the study was only done with one population in Detroit, the city of Detroit. And so I don't know if it, would um, lend itself to different populations, maybe some rural area, in the South, who knows, or something on the West Coast. I don't know. So that was one of the limitations that I had picked up on in the other two studies. So anyway, I hope that feedback helps. But again, I appreciate what you did and took the time to do. So I just wanted to give you kudos for that. Thank you very much. Take care.